Our commencement speaker walked down the main aisle of this basilica as a member of the DeMatha Catholic High School class of 1978, and as class salutatorian addressed his fellow graduates. He graduated from the University of Maryland in 1982 with a degree in electrical engineering, and shortly thereafter began work at MCI as a systems engineer in telecommunications. He left MCI after 11 years and worked as a home and hospital teacher with the public school system of Prince George's County, where he tutored severely emotional impaired children. Feeling a deeper call in his heart, he entered the Society of Jesus Jesuits in 1995 and began his journey in religious life, professing his vows in 1997. Father continued his studies in philosophy and theology at Loyola University in Chicago, and during his seminary years, he also taught math and prepared students for their GED. He completed his theological studies at Weston Jesuit School of Theology and was ordained a priest in 2005. Since his ordination, he continued teaching, has been a pastor, and is now at Fordham University. Father Ray states, he thoroughly enjoyed his time at DeMatha as a student, and he credits the school for his intellectual development. As a religious and priest, he says, and I quote, "I have a strong sense of purpose, which is to praise and serve God and God's people by sharing what I am and have, and receiving what others are and have. This purpose is independent of any particular role, so that my identity is not wrapped up in being a teacher, a pastor, or any other job or position. I need not be burdened with achieving any particular outcome or productive result, which can be left to God, whose world it is." End of quote. DeMatha class of 2016, faculty and guest, Father Raymond Donaldson, Jesuit, DeMatha class of 1978.
My dear brothers of the DeMatha Catholic High School class of 2016, congratulations. Today marks a milestone in your young lives as you join me and thousands of other men who are blessed to be graduates of this outstanding educational institution. Where you are now in this beautiful basilica, I was 38 years ago. I was sitting over there. Jim Vance, television news anchorman from WRC Channel 4, was our commencement speaker. To be honest, I do not remember what he said to us that day. So what awaits you? What do you confront as you walk out those doors at the conclusion of this ceremony? I'd like to identify 4 characteristics. First, choices. You have many options for the course and direction of your lives. Simply by being DeMatha graduates, you are highly functioning young men. Whatever you choose to take on next, you decide from a wide range of possibilities. That your DeMatha experience and the love of your family and friends have afforded you many choices is a great gift from God. Most people in the world today have nothing like the opportunities that await you. In fact, one way to understand poverty is that the poor have few or no choices. But, as Jesus tells us in Luke's gospel, much will be required of the person entrusted with much. And this suggests the second characteristic, expectations. Expectations are all around you. Your parents and other family members probably have expectations of you in the years to come. You may have expectations of yourself. Certainly your DeMatha family expects something of you, that you use the gift of your DeMatha experience to more and more realize the ideal of gentlemen and scholars who, paraphrasing the words of the 6 pillars of DeMatha, live your faith in a way that betters your communities and that finds its external expression in service to others. A third characteristic is what God is up to in the world. God's desire for each and every one of you is that you have life and have it to the fullest, that the joy of God's Son Jesus may be in you and that your joy may be complete. And God will continue to do what God has been doing, showing God's great love for you by decisively and specifically entering your lives to bestow upon you freely given gifts. Since God desires the salvation and flourishing of all creation, God sends out disciples to labor with the Spirit of Jesus to spread the gospel and further the realization of God's kingdom of love, peace, and mercy that is already among us, but not yet fully realized. A fourth characteristic of our world is its strangeness, its unfairness, its resistance to rational intelligibility. Our lives as individuals, as families, as communities, and as tribes and nations are filled with ironies, contradictions, and paradoxes that probably cannot be resolved. It is God's world, my brothers, and because God's ways are not our ways, because God's thoughts are not our thoughts, it makes some sense that the earthly life we are given is strange, inconsistent, chaotic, and often inexplicable. Thus, life becomes not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. Perhaps the greatest U.S. journalist of the first half of the 20th century in the United States was H.L. Mencken, native of Baltimore, Maryland, and lifelong resident of that city. In the preface to his last book, published after his death in 1956, he wrote that, quote, "I am unpleasantly impressed by the fact that giving each human being but one life is a bad scheme. He should have two at the lowest, one for observing and studying the world, and the other for formulating and settling down his conclusions about it. Forced as he is by the present irrational arrangement to undertake the second function before he has made any substantial progress with the first, he limps along like an athlete only half trained." End quote. Mencken was not a man of faith, so it is no surprise that he was unpleasantly impressed by the bad scheme and the irrational arrangement that he described. Then, too, is the unknown of just how long you will live. So choices, expectations, God's action in the world, and the strangeness of an earthly life that offers no guarantees as to how long it will last. Given these characteristics of our world, how do you choose? First, on the macro level of state of life, you have the choice of single life, priesthood, marriage, or consecrated religious life. Here, my brothers, I think that the important question is, in which state of life are you able to love and to serve others best? Some of you will be called to the married vocation. Probably many more of you will meet someone, be given the gift of being in love, and get married without any consideration of God's call to you. Either way, through that deeply personal, intimate love shared with your spouse, are you better able to love and serve others than in the alternative states of life? These others would be, first and foremost, any children with whom God would bless you. But these others are not limited to your own family. They must include neighbors, co-workers, in-laws, and especially the strangers who are most in need. Though the married state of life is more common, please be open to the possibility of priesthood, religious life, and the dedicated single life. Which one allows you to love and to serve others best? Some of you have already figured this out. That is a great gift, and may God continue to show you signs that confirm you in what you have chosen. For most of you, and this was true of me, the choice of a state of life awaits a further unfolding of your life experience in the years to come. Does God have in mind a particular state of life for you? Yes, but that particular state may change as part of God's response to your free choices in what is to come. A more immediate choice is what you pursue after today. Most of you have chosen further study, technical school, community college, university. In what should you major? I would suggest, my brothers, that you do not necessarily choose what you are good at. Being good at something means that you can get your certification or your degree more easily than someone who is not good at it. A better place to find what to study is what you love, what you are passionate about, what moves your heart. Perhaps in a particular class, a certain text, or an experience of service, you noticed something in yourself. A reaction of sympathy or compassion, a sudden burst of fellow feeling that connected you to someone from a very different background. Where is the intersection of the needs of God's people and that which evokes in you an affective, heartfelt, passionate response of love? Here again, the language of the 6 pillars of DeMatha is relevant. As gentlemen and scholars whose faith finds external expression in service of others, your choices of courses of study should not be ends in themselves. They should be means, instruments through which you love and serve others. So you do not choose, for example, to study mathematics so that you can be a mathematician, to study literature so that you can be a writer, to study biology so that you can be a doctor, or to study economics so you can land a job on the Federal Reserve Board. No, you choose these courses of study so that by being a mathematician, a writer, a doctor, an economist, you are able to serve others. If you cannot make this connection between course of study and service of others, then, my brothers, I would invite you to consider studying something else, something where you clearly see who you are becoming through study, how that works for the good, the love, and the service of others. Why? Because I think that the service of others in an intentional way is the path to the fulfillment of God's desire that you have life to the fullest, and that Jesus' joy may be in you, that you experience the greatest happiness that this earthly life can offer. You can make the choice, of course, of study on other grounds, such as potential for getting a good job, earning potential, fulfilling a loved one's dream for you or expectation of you, status or reputation, continuing a family legacy, or desire to be successful as this world defines success. And you can certainly thereby attain a measure of fulfillment and contentment. But if you have the freedom and the courage to venture beyond the ordinary, to challenge the worldly wisdom that claims that happiness is something you achieve by satisfying an endless stream of material wants, and to dare to live an extraordinarily fulfilling life and not merely a good one, then you'll find that experience in the giving of yourself in love and service of others. One of the key factors that makes DeMatha an outstanding educational institution is the superb quality of its faculty and staff. I speculate, my brothers, that your teachers, coaches, and moderators do what they do so well and are who they are so authentically because in large part they see their work and their lives as gifts of themselves in service to you and through you to the larger world. Thus, people flourish in this earthly life with very meager status, very little money, and very limited recognition. Wow. So far, this talk has been about the seriousness of life, and perhaps rightly so, because this graduation day marks an important milestone of accomplishment for you. Your lives and your choices are gifts from God to you, so they should be taken seriously and treated with some reverence. At the same time, there is a lighter side. I would encourage you, dear brothers, to cultivate your sense of humor and foster a spirit of playfulness. Admire the ironies, contradictions, and paradoxes that you notice about yourselves and those you love. We are not made merely for this earthly life. We are made for fuller, broader, and deeper life, a complete share in God's divine life across the transition that we call death. So hold the things of this world loosely. Do not cling to them as if this is all there is. Your relationships, first with God and then with other people, are most important, more so than any material possession or worldly status. Again, congratulations, my brothers. Thank you for all that you are becoming. Since I know that God will continue to bless you and bestow gifts upon you, I pray that you receive the grace to recognize those blessings and gifts as coming from God. And let your response be what it will be. As you leave today, I invite you to imagine God present here in this basilica, God's face smiling as God beholds each one of you. Gratitude to you, to your families and friends, and to DeMatha's faculty and staff fills God's heart. With great joy, God confidently sends you forth to go out to all the world and live the good news.